What is up gamers? Remember to subscribe for daily top Reddit stories. Okay, story time. Users of Reddit, what is the worst thing your teacher has ever said in front of a class? During English class we were watching Tomorrow when the war began. Those of you who have seen the movie know they start the movie talking about sex. The teacher goes, "Sex is not that great. I have actually not had sex." He's a full 30-year-old man and says that to a bunch of 13 to 14-year-olds. Those were the days. His name? Harry Balls. No, really, he was a substitute teacher who wrote his name on the board and said, "I will give you 3 minutes to laugh, but then we gotta get to work." Freshman year in high school, a classmate called someone a chode in gym class. The gym teacher asked him what that means and the student explained a chode is a good student. Next day, the teacher welcomed the class by saying, "Good morning, chodes." Honestly, at 13 over 14 that's about as funny as it gets. Teach was using an example to illustrate a concept. He was a very nice, bubbly man. We all liked him. He points at a random student and says, for example, "Bob, imagine you're adopted." About half the class cringed as they knew what Bob was about to say. I'm adopted. You could see the gears turning in the poor teacher's mind. Duck, I can't say sorry, because that implies that being adopted is bad. Duck. The silence was palpable as he tried to think of something to say. He eventually just turned to another kid. "Are you adopted?" "No." "Okay, so imagine Steven is adopted, lol, poor guy. The father of a classmate died in a motorcycle accident. He went into a corner too fast and crashed into a tree. A couple of days after the accident, which was the first day my classmate went to school again, our physics teacher decided that it is a good moment to teach the speed doesn't kill you, acceleration does lessen. With the example of motorcycle driving into a tree. Recursion is better than 9th grade C++ teacher going through a rough divorce. During 1 year of high school in a bio class, the students were fooling around in class not doing their work and the young had to be in her late 20s. Professor yelled, "You all stop jerking off." Then turned red as she realized what she had just said. You can only imagine how that went in a room full of 16 to 17-year-olds lol. New year, new teacher, and his introduction was, "If you are loud I will hit you with a chalk." We all thought it was very funny, but the next day we learned what doom was, because he never missed. I had a professor that had given us an in-class assignment. He was a shitty teacher and we were first year students, so we didn't finish it, and he told us to take it home and finish it, and when we wouldn't to bring it to daddy. He was Greek and didn't know the context, but he was the head of the department, so we all held back our giggles and left. She read out my name and looks at me and says, "Your parents named you this?" I had an art teacher that got caught drinking. Apparently someone from the previous period told on her. The vice principal came into our class and told her to come with him. We all heard her yell. They drove me to drink from the hallway. Worst thing and also best thing. History class. Kid punches the kid in front of him in the back of the head. Teacher sees this and says, "Now he's gonna punch you in the head and you're all gonna sit there and watch because there's nothing you can do about it. I will be in your butt." Our band director was trying to fire us up for marching season, but he had never given a motivational speech before, so he fucked up all the intense parts and made them mildly sexual. I had a religion teacher in high school named Mr. Nguyen, who was working on becoming a Jesuit priest and was a really cool guy. He always had a smile on his face and did his best to make class a fun experience for everyone. There was a kid in my class who was a really annoying smartass, but Mr. Nguyen was always really patient with him until one day he pushed him too far. I forgot exactly what the kid said, but it definitely crossed the line. Mr. Nguyen slammed his fists on his desk and shouted, "Why can't you ever shut the f up?" He then picked up his stapler and chucked it at the kid, missing his head by a few inches and leaving a huge dent in the wall, and then stormed out into the hallway. I had never seen a teacher blow up like that, and I definitely never expected it from him. Alcoholic English teacher in 9th grade. If you buy me a Johnny Walker Black, you are guaranteed to pass the class. I had a student teacher who believed in flat earth and thought that gravity didn't exist. Then she went on to try and teach us the next lesson in my app physics class. Later on she claimed climate change is fake and women belonged in the kitchen. I hope she never gets her teaching license. My Spanish teacher in high school announced to the entire class that I was a terrible excuse for a Christian because I didn't turn in my homework. My response was to stop doing anything in her class. Period. By the end of the year she was so tired of me, she said she would pass me if I passed the final. She thought she was putting the icing on the embarrassment cake. I got an A. Not teacher but my boss found an old piece of candy one day. She walks into the office and announces that she found an 80-year-old sugar daddy. Took her a minute to figure out why we were all staring at her. A substitute in my school was teaching a senior English class, overheard a rowdy kid joking that he was going to jump out of the second story window. The teacher then proceeded to say, "Jump out of the window then. You won't do it." He did it. Sub couldn't teach that class anymore. Kid got in trouble. Videos circulated for weeks. When I was a freshman in college, my public speaking professor from Texas walked into the classroom about 10 minutes late, fanning himself off with a stack of papers. He loudly declared, "Howdy y'all. Martin, it is hotter than a baby in the backseat today." Everyone was silent. He turned it into a lesson by saying that we were not a responsive audience. I had a Latin class in middle school that was located right near the principal's office. One day we were playing Jeopardy, and it was getting pretty loud, and all of a sudden our principal came in and said, "What's going on in here? It sounds like you all are having a Roman orgy." The whole class went silent and then burst out laughing. He was older and I think he thought orgy meant loud and rowdy party, which in some cases it does, but not to a bunch of 7th grade middle schoolers in a Latin class. We all laughed at him, and he looked confused. As we were laughing, my teacher whispered to him why we were laughing, and he said, "OHH, you need to grow up." I think he retired at the end of that year too. Probably was for the best. Not bad really, but funny for us. Teacher surprise quiz today. Kids AWW, come on. Teacher, don't come on me. Kid, under his breath, "I'll try not to." 9th grade social studies had a running joke the rest of year. On the last day of school, my kid's 2nd grade teacher just said, "Duck it" at 10 AM and went home, leaving all the kids alone in the classroom for 2 hours before one of them ventured out to the office. Her excuse? "I left them a ton of coloring pages. They'll be fine." That is it for today, boys. Come back tomorrow for another dose of dopamine.
This is the greatest.